Did you know that many of the principles shaping modern governments, from legal systems to checks and balances, can be traced back to the Roman Empire? In 27 BCE, Rome transitioned from a republic to an empire, a moment that forever altered the course of Western civilization. Let's explore how this pivotal shift sparked the birth of the Roman Empire and its lasting impact on the world today. The year 27 BCE stands as one of the most transformative moments in world history. It marks the official end of the Roman Republic, a political system that had endured for nearly 5 centuries, and the beginning of the Roman Empire, a regime that would dominate the Mediterranean and much of Europe for centuries to come. This turning point came when Gaius Octavian, later known as Augustus, was granted unprecedented powers by the Roman Senate. Rather than restoring the Republic as he had promised, Octavian skillfully consolidated authority under himself, becoming Rome's first emperor. This shift not only changed Rome's political landscape, but also set the foundation for a vast empire that would influence governance, law, and culture across Europe and beyond for generations. The birth of the Roman Empire in 27 BCE wasn't just the rise of a new political system. It was the dawn of an era that shaped the future of Western civilization. Before 27 BCE, the Roman Republic had been crumbling under the weight of internal turmoil for decades. While it had achieved remarkable military and territorial success, expanding across the Mediterranean, the Republic faced severe political, social, and economic challenges at home. The Roman political system, designed for a small city-state, struggled to manage an empire that spanned vast territories. The Senate, originally an advisory body of aristocrats, became paralyzed by corruption and factionalism. Powerful generals and politicians, such as Julius Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus, formed personal alliances, like the First Triumvirate, bypassing the traditional systems of checks and balances. Rivalry between these factions led to civil wars, as figures like Caesar amassed too much power, threatening the very fabric of the Republic. The Roman Republic was also plagued by deep social divides. The patricians, wealthy landowners, dominated the Senate, while the plebeians, the common people, grew increasingly frustrated with their lack of political representation. Economic inequality soared, especially as wealthy elites bought up land, pushing small farmers into poverty. Additionally, the influx of slaves from conquered territories created economic competition, making it harder for ordinary citizens to find work. Tensions between these classes erupted into frequent uprisings, like the famous revolt led by Spartacus in 73 BCE. One of the biggest challenges to the Republic came from its own military leaders. Roman generals, who had traditionally answered to the Senate, began to prioritize their own ambitions over loyalty to the state. Figures like Julius Caesar and Pompey used their armies as political tools, threatening Rome itself. Caesar's crossing of the Rubicon River in 49 BCE marked a critical turning point, as it led to a civil war between him and the Senate-backed forces of Pompey. The result was Caesar's eventual victory and his dictatorship, which ended with his assassination in 44 BCE, but by then, the Republic was beyond saving. After Caesar's death, Rome descended into another round of civil wars, with key players like Mark Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus vying for control. The resulting power struggles, particularly between Octavian and Antony, culminated in the Battle of Actium in 31 BCE, where Octavian's forces defeated Antony and his ally, Cleopatra. This marked the final collapse of the Republic's political system, as Rome's institutions could no longer manage the immense pressures of its empire. By 27 BCE, the Roman Republic was a shadow of its former self, weakened by civil war, class conflict, and political decay. Octavian's rise to power was seen by many as a solution to these crises. But rather than restore the Republic, he ushered in a new form of governance that would define Rome and much of the Western world for centuries: the Roman Empire. The transformation of the Roman Republic into the Roman Empire was not an overnight event, but a series of significant developments involving ambitious leaders, political intrigue, and momentous battles. Several key events and figures played crucial roles in paving the way for the empire, with Julius Caesar's rise and the aftermath of his assassination at the heart of this transformation. Julius Caesar, a brilliant military general and politician, was one of the central figures leading Rome's transition from republic to empire. His career began with his victories in the Gallic Wars, 58 to 50 BCE, which not only expanded Rome's territories, but also made Caesar immensely popular among the Roman people and his legions. However, his growing power made him a threat to the Senate, especially to figures like Pompey, who had once been his ally in the First Triumvirate. The collapse of this alliance triggered a series of events that would shake the Republic to its core. In 49 BCE, after the Senate, led by Pompey, ordered Caesar to disband his army and return to Rome, Caesar instead made the bold and illegal move of crossing the Rubicon River with his army. This act of defiance, famously signified by Caesar's declaration, "The die is cast," initiated a civil war. Over the next few years, Caesar's forces would defeat Pompey and his allies, allowing Caesar to declare himself dictator for life in 44 BCE. While Caesar's military triumphs had won him loyalty from his troops and the lower classes, his accumulation of power alarmed the Roman elite. Many senators believed he intended to establish a monarchy, destroying the Republic's ideals. On March 15, 44 BCE, the infamous Ides of March, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators, including Brutus and Cassius, who claimed to be restoring the Republic. However, instead of saving the Republic, Caesar's assassination plunged Rome into further chaos. After Caesar's death, Rome was once again thrown into civil war. Power struggles quickly emerged between Caesar's supporters and those who had orchestrated his assassination. In 43 BCE, a political alliance known as the Second Triumvirate was formed between three powerful figures: Octavian, Julius Caesar's adopted heir and grandnephew; Mark Antony, one of Caesar's most trusted generals; and Lepidus, another prominent military leader. This triumvirate worked to defeat Caesar's assassins, culminating in the Battle of Philippi in 42 BCE, where Brutus and Cassius were defeated. While this alliance initially stabilized Rome, it wasn't long before tensions grew between Octavian and Antony, especially as Antony became romantically and politically involved with Cleopatra, the Queen of Egypt. Their rivalry set the stage for the final collapse of the Republic. The animosity between Octavian and Antony escalated into open conflict. Antony's partnership with Cleopatra, seen by many Romans as a threat to Roman dominance, provided Octavian with the pretext he needed to declare war. In 31 BCE, at the Battle of Actium, Octavian's forces decisively defeated the combined fleets of Antony and Cleopatra. Antony and Cleopatra later committed suicide, leaving Octavian as the undisputed ruler of Rome. With his enemies defeated, Octavian returned to Rome in triumph. In 27 BCE, he offered to relinquish his extraordinary powers to the Senate, a gesture that was largely symbolic. In reality, the Senate granted him even more authority, bestowing upon him the title Augustus, which means the revered one. This marked the formal beginning of the Roman Empire, with Augustus as its first emperor. Though he maintained the outward forms of the Republic, such as the Senate, real power rested with Augustus, who controlled the military, finances, and political appointments. Augustus' rise to power was the culmination of years of civil war, political maneuvering, and military conquests. By consolidating authority under a single leader, Augustus ended the era of civil wars that had plagued Rome, ushering in a period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Romana. This pivotal moment in 27 BCE marked not just the rise of Augustus, but the birth of a system of governance that would influence the structure of empires and states for centuries to come. The Roman Republic was dead, but the Roman Empire was born, setting the stage for a new era in world history. The defining moment that signaled the end of the Roman Republic and the official birth of the Roman Empire came in 27 BCE, when Octavian, having emerged victorious from years of civil war, was granted the title of Imperator Caesar Augustus by the Roman Senate. This title, which translates to Commander Caesar the Revered, symbolized a fundamental shift in Rome's governance, a shift from a republican system where power was distributed among various elected officials to a centralized autocracy with Augustus as the supreme ruler. After his victory over Mark Antony and Cleopatra, Octavian returned to Rome as its unrivaled leader. In a political masterstroke, Octavian appeared to restore power to the Senate and the Roman people in January 27 BCE. He offered to relinquish his extraordinary powers and return the Republic to its previous governance structure. However, this gesture was more symbolic than real. The Senate, which had long been weakened by civil wars and internal strife, was now more loyal to Octavian than ever and refused his offer. Instead, they granted him extraordinary powers, including control over the military and Rome's key provinces. The Senate's most significant gesture, however, was to bestow upon Octavian the honorific title Augustus, meaning the revered one or the exalted. This title elevated Octavian above all others, signifying that he was no longer simply a political leader, but a figure of almost divine reverence. In addition, the title of imperator, traditionally used to refer to victorious Roman generals, now took on a new meaning, becoming a permanent designation for the emperor. It marked Octavian as the supreme military commander, uniting both political and military power under one person for the first time in Rome's history. While Augustus continued to use republican titles such as princeps, meaning first citizen, to maintain the illusion of shared power, in reality, he had established the framework for absolute rule. This balance between republican tradition and autocratic control allowed Augustus to avoid the fate of his predecessor, Julius Caesar, who had been assassinated for appearing too overtly monarchical. Augustus carefully crafted his image as the restorer of peace and stability, a role that resonated deeply with a Roman population exhausted by decades of civil war. While Augustus continued to use republican titles such as princeps, meaning first citizen, to maintain the illusion of shared power, in reality, he had established the framework for absolute rule. This balance between republican tradition and autocratic control allowed Augustus to avoid the fate of his predecessor, Julius Caesar, who had been assassinated for appearing too overtly monarchical. Augustus carefully crafted his image as the restorer of peace and stability, a role that resonated deeply with a Roman population exhausted by decades of civil war. 24. This moment in 27 BCE, when Octavian was named Augustus, marks the climax of Rome's transformation from a fractured republic to a unified empire. From this point onward, Rome would be governed by emperors, beginning a new chapter in its history, one that would see the Roman Empire grow to its greatest territorial and cultural heights under Augustus and his successors. It was a moment that not only reshaped Roman governance, but also laid the groundwork for the future political systems of Europe and beyond. The birth of the Roman Empire in 27 BCE was a pivotal moment that reshaped the course of world history. With Augustus as its first emperor, Rome transitioned from a chaotic republic plagued by civil wars to a centralized empire that ushered in centuries of relative peace, prosperity, and cultural flourishing. The Pax Romana. This new form of imperial governance not only expanded Rome's influence across Europe, the Mediterranean, and beyond, but it also set the foundation for many aspects of modern governance, including law, military organization, and civic infrastructure. The Roman Empire's legacy can be seen in everything from the structure of modern governments to legal systems and even languages spoken today. The empire's birth in 27 BCE marked the beginning of an era that would profoundly shape the development of Western civilization for millennia. What do you think is the most significant legacy of the Roman Empire? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're curious about how this mighty empire eventually fell, be sure to check out our next video on the fall of the Roman Empire. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more history deep dives.